You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is our Talking Shop broadcast. We're super excited to talk to you guys with some creators that have projects. Both of them have projects out this week. So it's very timely. You'll know everything you need to know in time to go and run off to your LCS and put it on your wish list or your pull list, or to call them. More heads up, the better. We love doing this for you guys. So you guys have all the information you need. I'm excited to get after it. We'll see you in just a second. I officially dislike the update they've done to Facebook because it doesn't push the newest thing to the top. Grr, Facebook, figure yourself out. It worked really well for a long time. Why would you mess up stuff like that? So anyway, thank you for sharing that out, everybody. This is time to share so that everyone can be in the room to be part of this process. Remember that Talking Shop is a completely interactive show, so please do talk, ask questions, tell us what's going on in your life. We're a big family here, so we like to talk to each other. All right, let's get to talking to our first guest, John Clark, who's been on before. So friend of the family now.
Yes. Yeah, always fun. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
So you're kind of like in one of those odd places where you're in the middle of one series and you've got this single shot that's coming out this week. How is Playthings going? Has it had a good reception? You got the numbers you wanted?
I think so. You know, it's kind of funny. So I did a signing this past weekend at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, and I have like a big banner, and I have some of the covers that I did for Playthings on there. And like one of the greatest things for me is like I had a guy, and I guess he hadn't heard of it, and he came in and he's like, "What's that?" Like, I want that. I will buy all of those. And I was just like, yay. Like, I was like, woo, ego boost on that one, like, so that was cool. That was very cool.
Is it because he liked horror? Was it something like he was like, oh, that's a horror title, clearly?
Yeah. Oh no, I think, yeah. It's clearly horror. I think it's got the big baby head, with the needle and everything. So I don't think it could be misinterpreted.
No, it's like this cover is like just full on scary. Well, this is the number 2 one, right? Number 2 got the big needle. Number 1 is harder to catch on. I mean, it is a creepy clown.
Yeah.
Creepy clown guy. There's a big knife there that he's holding onto. But this one, I mean, come on. This is like full on.
That's horror. Yeah.
When people say that they're scared of dolls and they just like walk into a room and there's one in there and they say nope.
Yep.
That's that. And then you got, is it this week? Next week's got the number 3.
I think that one is out. I think now, so 1, 2, and 3 should be out, and then 4 and 5 are coming.
It's so cool. I like my preference is like for either stories that are like this, that are an encapsulated story, even if there's like another round of stories that are related to it later, it helps me like get into it. Or I like super long form storylines that have like this, overarching mythos that probably will never resolve. And I'm resigned to that because I'm a sucker and love X-Files, where they never resolved anything. But yeah, is this, do you have in mind for Playthings that is like when it gets to that 5th issue, you're going to know it's done, or you're going to be intrigued for more? Yeah,
no, you're going to know it's done. It's just a 5-issue limited series. And I think, you'll know it's going to get, it's like this twisty kind of story. And we really literally go like down the rabbit's hole into like, a lot of crazy places and with a lot of crazy things, as you can see from the covers. And they're all kind of in that world. And she has to kind of, Allison, the main protagonist, has to deal with that stuff. And she's trying to rescue her daughter. So we're getting to that place now, and it will finish. Yes.
Have we found out where the box even came from?
You in issue 3, you get a really big clue. And
Okay.
then like you kind of she figures out kind of she gets a big clue as to what's happening. And then in issue 4, that's when she's kind of in it and she needs to kind of get herself out of there.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to give too much away.
Oh no. Well, just as a tease for everybody, like in the first issue, this box mysteriously shows up.
Yeah.
It's like it's never a good sign when you don't know how a box ended up in your house. Like normally the bomb squad would just come and blow a thing up, but you know, if you're really intrigued and think you're just going to open up and see what's in there.
Yeah.
Cautionary tale.
Yep.
Don't open any box ever that you're not ready to go down a rabbit trail for. And then for everybody that may be like, man, that artwork looks real familiar. What else have I seen it in? Like probably your first exposure was to the awesome series Black Friday, which is the most ridiculous, awesome concept ever.
Thank you. Thank you.
It makes Black Friday real scary.
Yeah. And that was the goal too. You know, it's one of those holidays, you know, that's kind of interesting holiday, and interesting the way it is kind of pushed out to consumers, you know, and in a not, you know, that's kind of the point. That's like a big part of the point of the story too.
I wonder if like if you were writing it today, if you could even kind of muster up that same kind of feeling, because now I feel like Black Friday's lost all of its power. Is there like it's October 1st, here's your first Black Friday deal.
Yeah. Like I think Amazon is doing like a something like coming up in a couple of days.
Yeah, 10th and 11th, they've got two Prime only sale things that are going on.
But it's also like I always feel like, you know, at least back then, the Black Friday was kind of geared towards, you know, people that, you know, need, you know, like they couldn't really afford like that, and then they get such a steep discount, you know, so they would go in there because it's like, hey, I get to get. So I've always been on that side, like, you know, I've gone to the line, you know, before. It's like you know, they kind of set it up in a very kind of like weird way, and I don't know if they really thought it through. But then it's like after it happening for a few years, it's kind of like maybe they did think this through, and maybe there's like, you know, and that's kind of the whole thing with Black Friday is like, is there like a sinister ulterior motive to this whole thing?
I don't know if it's sinister so much as they understand the buying psyche. So if you get a whole bunch of people together and make some specials, like I even found myself falling for this. Like I would go because I liked waiting in line with my friend, and we would just sit there and play. Yes, they'll tell you how old it was. But we used to sit there, and it was just kind of like a social gathering, waiting in line outside in the cold and having your sleeping bag, or whatever. It was a social thing to do after you were done with turkey. And then once you made it inside, other people would be picking things up. You're like, well, maybe if everyone's like, blah about a thing, maybe I need to have it. So you would find yourself, you know, checking out with like, I don't know that I need an electric toothbrush, but dadgummit, person next to me really wanted 5 of them, so I must need it.
After hearing everything you're saying, I'm like, is there a way I can get my comics like that where I can get a whole bunch of people and they're like, no, I think I need all these comics, and get this one too while we're at it.
Do you mean comic conventions?
Yes, there we go. Yeah, good idea. Wait, I think we've got something here.
Right. Yeah, it's I'm one of those weird people that loves the science of retail. I'm a big fan of Paco Underhill, and there's some other people that I follow that they have their study and livelihood is based in studying the behavior of shoppers and how we shop. And I just find that super intriguing, like how and why we buy and what things make us, you know, shy off from buying things. Like part of the point that they make is that like when you go to a store, you'll notice like the first like 10, 12 steps in the store, there's nothing there. There's usually like, if smart stores, they put like the door and then there's the foyer and another door to have like clear delineation to when shopping should start. Because in those first like 12 steps, everyone's putting away their glasses and, you know, checking their last email and putting their keys away. You could have gold for no money sitting in that first 12 steps. No one's going to buy it.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's almost like the race. They're like getting everything prepped to like shopper mindset kind of a thing.
Yep.
Wow. That's actually very interesting. I didn't know about that, but I'm sure that there are people like, working all of that stuff out.
Yeah. And then the other fact is like there's a difference between masculine shoppers and feminine shoppers, that like feminine folk don't mind close proximity shopping. So if there's like a bunch of stuff we're all digging through at the same time, that's just part of the way it's fine. But for guys, it's called a butt brush effect. That if your butt brushes somebody else or something else, then you're like, I'm out.
Nice. By the way, I'm going to steal that as a title, butt brush effect. That's a great title.
You're going to have to give it to Paco Underhill. You have to like say, that's taken from Paco Underhill, because that's his. I wonder if there's something that's like that for comic books, right? Whether there's like, for comic book hunters, whether they care if there's close proximity for digging through dollar books, for example. If they're like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that the comic people would mind, at least like in my experience, because you kind of are used to it. And I also think even like when you go into a comic book store, there's always like people standing there and looking at stuff, and it's like not as big of a deal to be like, excuse me, like as you're kind of moving your way through, and everybody's like, yeah, go ahead, I'm here looking at my stuff.
And you've been to like some really amazing large stores, because you've been to Third Eye, and they've got a lot more open space between aisles. But I would say the traditional comic book store is a lot more, they like use every square inch to as a good effect as they can. So the likelihood you're going to be in a smaller space is pretty high.
Well, even so, like that was a thing, like when I was in Third Eye, and every time I go into that one, it's kind of like, it's daunting for me as a creator, because I look up on the wall and I'm like, look at all the comic books that are out there. Like, yeah, it's like an entire wall, and the back and the top and around the top, and it's like, man, like, so anybody that buys my comic, and I'm like, woo, like, thank you, because it's like, that's a lot of creators out there,
Yeah, I was the most impressed by Third Eye. I had never even really heard of them before, but I went to Baltimore Comic-Con. This was years ago. Mm-hmm. And the owner, my brain stops right now for what his name is. Steve, thank you. Steve was working his own booth, and he was like, every single person that came to the booth was like a family member to him. Like, I don't know if he already knew everyone in the entire Baltimore area or what, but you felt like you were a family member when you walked in. He helped everyone very specifically, and no one, like, it was clear that he was like about the being very helpful. Yeah. And I was like, I like this guy. He knows what it's supposed to be like. You can't be like, don't bother me.
Yeah. And I had that, well, because I used to live in LA, and like in Pasadena, there's a place called Comics Factory. And like, I remember going in there, and I'd just be doing my own thing, but I can hear like the guys talking, and they were like so nice, so patient, and like really helped, like, oh, well, you like, fantasy? Well, have you thought about that? Or like, for their kids or whatever it was. And I was like, wow, like, I don't know if they're told like, hey, be nice and say nice things, but like, they were really, really wonderful, like very nice.
Yeah, there's definite people that are retail people. You're in retail because you like talking to people, as people like me. Like, I'd talk to you about anything. It didn't really matter. If you came into the shop, I'd be happy to talk to you about your kids, dance recital or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, that's nice about the comics, and that was even my experience, like with the signing I did. Everybody was so friendly. Everybody that came up was just so nice. I was, I mean, I don't know why that's horrible. Maybe I have a bad opinion of people or something, but like, I was like really blown away. Like, I walked out of there going like, wow, people are really great.
Are you a person that doesn't go and do very many signings? Are you usually nose to the grindstone?
Yeah, and I think like I kind of am. I'm afraid. I'm like, I don't know. I'm afraid. I guess I'm just shy or whatever. But like, after that experience, I'm like, oh, I need to do this more often. Like, because this was really nice. And I even like, there was a couple people. obviously that didn't know my work and stuff like that, that came over and took a chance and heard what it was about. And it just made me feel really good, like not as a salesman or whatever, but just as a like, oh, I think they're going to like it,
People appreciate the thing that you put your heart and soul into.
Yeah. I hope. We'll find out. We'll see the reviews and then we'll know.
Well, heart and spooky soul, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about what's coming out this week. Because this one is something like, if you're ever like, I don't know about jumping in to John's stuff, like here, this is a single shot. So you're like, one and done. I'll give you a couple pieces of advice. This one is very spooky and plays on a lot of like big fears. And probably don't eat food while you're reading it. There are some a little bit gross stuff about it, about the storyline.
But you got through it? You got through it?
Oh, I did. Absolutely. Okay, so you hooked me, honestly, in the storyline with the salty girl that's like, I'm going to go and ruin this other high schooler's life by going to find something in her, it's like break and enter her house to go and try to find something to like use against her. She's stolen my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, this is like Mean Girls or the Heathers. What's going on next?
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Like, so like for me, it's kind of like, and I will mispronounce the name, but like one of my favorite short stories ever is Edgar Allan Poe's The Cask of, and I can't say that word, Amontillado or something like, I can't say that word. And I
try it. I don't know if it's going to get better. Amontillado?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, the one where he leads them down into the catacombs because he's going to give him like the best wine he's ever had, but like he's secretly out to kind of like get this guy. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of play the story with that kind of like just kind of play around with those kind of ideas with the revenge.
And also, I really, really love. Oh, you say it like Amontillado. I'll take it.
Yes.
That sounds good. I think that's probably Kyle. The other thing I like is that you continue with your like really amazing art. It's my eye, it looks watercolor. Is that true?
It is it's computer. I'm like I like Photoshop. It's like I'm Photoshop all day. So like I have all these kind of filters that I like to explore. And one of the looks that I was definitely going for is that watercolory kind of splash. I every page kind of has that kind of, and I hope it's not too much, but like I kind of was pushing that feel, more organic. I like texture. I think that's the way to put it.
And I also like you use fine line inking like Jay Lee, or what am I thinking of, that just like uses tiny ink line. I love it so much. It looks very different than a lot of the stuff that's out there, so it sets it apart for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, that is something I always try to do, even with playthings, even when I'm not doing kind of all the line art and stuff like that. Like I want my books to look a little bit like those are, that's John Clark's book, like not like a typical kind of a thing. And I hope that comes across.
I think so. I think for me, it's really easy to say, okay, well, this is a definite related book from the art. So are you focused in on horror? Do you have any other thoughts to doing,
I do. It's funny, and like I always remember Stephen King saying, like, do you do anything but horror? And it's like his answer, and I think it's a great answer, is kind of like, well, I do, but this is what I got. Like, it's kind of weird. It's like, do I sit down and go, oh, I could probably write a romance story. I have an idea for a really good romantic story, but like, I don't know. Like, I tend to gravitate like the things. And it's kind of weird. Like I'm writing this script right now, and it's like I like the feeling of, for me, it's like when an idea comes and you're like, I need to do this now. Like if I don't do this, somebody else out there is going to come. They're going to have this idea too, because there's like this whole zeitgeist thing that happens, and it's like I need to be the guy that gets this one done before other people. And so, that's like kind of where I'm going with this new script, but same kind of thing with the Something Juicy is like, I've always liked that, revenge, and I like high school, like I'm the person that's still stuck in their high school years trying to work all that stuff out, so it's like, I like that kind of age, and comics are a good place, because I think that's what, at least when I was reading them, getting into that and working out all that stuff helped me. So,
well, maybe it is the perfect place to hunt for stories to be told, because it is honestly a place where we all work through a lot of dramatic, growth and figure out who we were. And there were some truly scary parts. And I'm not talking about like the dreaming about forgetting class or whatever, or showing up naked. I'm just talking about just in general, the day-to-day crisis of showing up and like, oh, please don't anyone make fun of the sweater I chose today, or
right. Yeah.
the scrunchie I picked for my hair, because it really didn't matter. People would pick on you for something, and so you were always in that state of like, just don't notice me.
So it's funny you would say that. Like, I remember like when I was in high school, so I was a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan from like a very young age, like probably too young, but huge. And I read somewhere that he wore the same outfit every day, and so did Einstein. They all wear like the same outfit, and like that's what I did. Like through like, I think my senior year, I wore a white T-shirt every day. Like, so it was kind of like, I wouldn't get less picked on maybe about doing that than like, just wearing it.
Yeah, I think, well, it also takes less mental energy to have the same outfit on. My older son, went to a school that they had, like they were all supposed to wear khaki pants and like, little polo shirts. And I thought that he would not like that at all, to not be able to show his own personality. But he's like, this is so much easier, Mom. Like, everyone has to wear the same thing. It's less stress.
Yeah, I could see that. But the only thing is, like, I don't want to wear that polo shirt. It's like, I think that's where the trouble comes in.
It's true. So okay, so like, I don't know how much more we can say about this book without. Okay, so I'll say this. How about this? We can say this. The cover is 100% spoiler, but you don't know what you're looking at. So it's not going to be a spoiler for you until you read the book, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank you. That is really, really wonderful to hear, because I was like, I was nervous about, like I wanted to have it be just enough to be like, okay, this is interesting in a kind of creepy way, but like not give, like you say, what is, a big plot point and that we're not talking about right now.
That's right. But I will say that as spooky as it is, you will have, I guess maybe you'll have conflicted feelings at the end. Yeah. Whether people, if you like people to get comeuppance or not, it's like you'll feel conflicted about the comeuppance that happens.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's one of those things, like I'm very curious to see how people react when they read this one. Like I definitely hope that they enjoy it. But I was like, have I gone too far? Like, have I gone too far? So we'll see.
So I guarantee you, someone's going to get a bee in their bonnet about just the twist, and you'll hear about it. Yeah, but it's like, come on, man. If we worried about every single thing we wrote about, whether it would be make someone uncomfortable or whatever, then nothing would ever be written.
Yeah.
So what are you working on next? I know for sure you didn't like get to this and be like, that's enough for now.
No, I'm actually, yes. So I have so far for sure contracted 2 books coming out next year. So one is a 4-issue limited series called Pop-Up, and it's a horror. And the concept is basically this lady. She's an artist, and she's a struggling artist, and she comes up with this idea similar to how I was telling you, ideas come to you and you're like, I've got to grab them. So she has this idea that she's going to put together the world's first pop-up museum of haunted and supernatural objects from all over the world. So she acquires all the objects and brings them together. And the story takes place the night before the museum is set to open, and she gets this final piece, and the final piece kind of sets everything off and sets it into motion, and it becomes like a very horror type of story.
I love it, because those kind of places are the ones I'm both intrigued by, but I don't know if I would ever really go, because I'm like, I know the spiritual realm is real, so I don't want to tempt.
Yeah,
I don't want to take something home with me.
yeah. So that's one. The other one I'm working on is actually, and I'm going to do all the art and everything. And I wrote the stories. It's called 3 Little Bites, and it is horror. It's going to be 3 short horror stories. I think it's going to be like 46-ish pages. So it'll be kind of like this, but 3 separate little ones. And I think it's more mature, and it is hard. I'm very excited. It's another one of those books where I'm very excited to see how people react, because this one goes to some dark places.
I know that everyone will love it, especially if it is half as good as the rest of these that you've written and done the art for. Like, I like it when you do both just for me.
Thank you.
So the other question I had was, are both of those new books, are they both going to be Black Caravan?
So one of those is through Black. It's going to be, I think it's through Scout. I think that the 3 Little Bites is going to be through Scout, and the other one is through. Oh my God! And I'm blanking on the company, the publisher. That's so horrible. I think it's Blood Moon. I'm so
yeah, I know Blood Moon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Blood Moon. So I'm excited to work with them and see what they, they're very excited about it.
Oh yeah, those are good guys. All right, we've run out of time, but let's make sure everybody knows where to follow you. Where's the best place for people to follow you to know what you're up to next? Sure,
the best place is Instagram, and it's John Clark Comics. Pretty simple.
So easy.
Yeah, I try to make it easy.
Well, I'm super interested to see what happens tomorrow. I suspect it's Wednesday. My days get all mixed up. But on Wednesday, I think it's going to be one of those things that will be an easy hand sell. And like for me, the hand sell will be, it's like, you can, if this is too spooky for you, and then, you say that and people get offended. They're like, oh, I can handle anything.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then we'll see if they can handle it, right?
That's right. And then they come back and they're like, you're right. I should have read it before bed. Well, thanks so much, John. Are we going to see you at any conventions anytime soon?
Not yet. I'm like, if I can figure out a way to freeload or stay with somebody at New York Comic Con, I will try to get up there. But I don't know. I don't see it happening. I want to go, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I wish I could freeload, man. My hotel room for 2 nights is like $1,000.
Yeah,
so scary. How much money?
I'll be there. What was that hotel room? Just put it in the.
It's like you can't stay in my hotel room. It's like a 10 by 10 square. Man, New York is expensive. I don't know how people live there.
Yeah.
Well, how about I see you up there? Hopefully, you can.
Thank you.
There's like a whole bunch of guys out there. If you just say, "Can I cop a squat on your couch?" I'm sure they'll let you come over.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. All right, everyone, stick around. Everyone say hi, give some thumbs up and hearts to John, and make sure you put it on your pull list. So the one you want for this week is called Something Juicy. Something Juicy is what you want.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. All right, everyone, stick around. Up next, we're going to talk to Ted Anderson. Bye.
Hey, it's producer Kyle. If you like going places where the action never stops, like Las Vegas, the Caribbean, and Atlantic City, then you're probably not who I want to talk to. But if you want to surround yourself with amazing comic books and comic book content made by a devoted group of smart and funny industry insiders, the Experience Members Club was made for you. You can join the experience by becoming a supporting member of our YouTube channel. You get access to exclusive content that no one else gets, like members-only live streams, pre-sales, one-on-one Q&As with production staff, and other content that's exclusively for members. Plus, for a limited time, if you sign up now, you'll be entered into our giveaway of a slabbed comic book. Just call this Wait, hold on. It's 2022. No one makes phone calls anymore. Scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen or just visit the membership section of our YouTube page and you'll be on the VIP line of the comic book buffet, baby. Look at the size of those perks. Join today and I'll be saying, who loves you, baby? Me. The answer was me.
Hi, I'm Hedwig Hale, author of She Bites. You're watching The Experience.
Everybody, and welcome back. Again, I will tell you, this is a fully interactive show, so if you have any questions that you want to ask our guests, feel free to type it into the comments. And also, remember to subscribe to this channel so that you can get notifications every single week. I will be here this day, this time, to make sure you have all the information you will need to add cool things to your pull box for this week. And to that end, I am super excited to talk to Ted Anderson.
Am I up?
You
Wait,
are, but I
why
can
is
only
it showing? Okay, this is like my background. Why isn't it showing my actual face?
That is so funny.
Am I invisible? Hold on.
You're invisible.
Oh
Are you
my-
a vampire, Ted?
This is, this explains so much. Hold on, sharing camera. It's allowed. Why is this is bizarre.
So you really are in the middle of that screen. It just isn't showing you.
Am I up now? Hey!
Hey!
Okay. I don't know what was going on there. Clearly, it was like showing the wall behind me, but anyway.
Yeah, it was. I wonder if it was like a frozen frame from before you sat down or something.
I had the computer up for a while. I wasn't doing anything. So no, that's what it was. But yeah, thanks for having me on. My name is Ted Anderson. I'm a writer, a freelance writer for a whole bunch of different places. And most recently for Aftershock Publishing, and specifically for their new book from Seismic Press, which we're going to be talking more about what that is and so forth. But yeah, I'm also battling a cold, which is why my voice doesn't usually sound so like hoarse and awful. But I got something
better
going
than I thought it was going to be. I really had envisioned something much more crazy.
Just inhuman growling. Oh God, I can't even do a joke
Right.
voice this bad. Oof.
So it's
Anyway.
okay. Don't worry. If you need a cough or you need to like grab water, we're totally cool. We're all family here, so it's all good.
Nice.
So give everybody a bit of background for you. I know that you are you have a connection to schools.
Yes. So I'm a librarian. I'm a school librarian in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I'm from. I'm a middle school librarian specifically, and I've been working these jobs for years now. Licensed degree to librarian and all that stuff. I actually went, this is really cool. Aftershock flew me out to the American Library Association conference back in, was it July, August? One of those. That was a lot of fun. I got to meet all my professional contacts. I got to talk to everyone who was, other librarians, and I got to sell them on this book. And yeah, I have this great experience with bringing in graphic novels. Like that's literally the only thing a lot of my kids will read. It's a middle school. It's like 6th to 8th graders. So all they want is like One Piece and Naruto and Bleach. And, it's comics are the only thing a lot of them will touch. So it's like, it's a little frustrating sometimes, but it is also like, no, I get it.
So part of what I do is I'm very strongly aligned with the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund and serve on their board because I think there's nothing more important than access to all literature. Are you seeing as a librarian any of this, like the struggle of trying to find out what's age appropriate or pulling books to see if they are? Are you dealing with any of that?
Not yet. Not to date. I haven't had a book challenge. I haven't had a parent come in and angrily demand this book be taken off the shelf or anything along those lines. I've been lucky. I mean, Minneapolis is a pretty liberal city. There's not a whole lot of that. Well, not that I've seen, but I mean, I know other creators personally whose their works have been challenged in other schools and libraries across the country. So like, no, I know it's a thing. I'm a little bit cautious in what I select, and I'm worried that I may be a little overcautious in some cases. The school that I serve, the population that I serve, the community has a little bit more of a conservative bent culturally. Not it's difficult to talk about. I don't want to get into specifics, but it's what it means is that I'm a little bit cautious about the books that I select, but then I worry about, well, am I being overly cautious? Because self-censorship is itself a form of censorship, particularly when it comes to librarians. You don't want to, you worry so much about, oh my God, is this going to get challenged, that you don't edit in the first place, which ultimately helps nobody. So I'm pushing what has been on the shelves previously, but I'm pushing slowly. This is my first year at this school, and I don't want to get fired just yet. So.
You're gonna get fired.
I worry a little bit about some of this, but no, it's been a great experience so far, and it's been really interesting to see all the materials that the way that the YA and middle grade publishing spaces are opening up and providing much more books for marginalized readers and about marginalized individuals and like people from different backgrounds. And it's all just it's really cool. I love it.
So outside of like anything that might be controversial at all, do you see anyone being pushed back about just that it's a graphic novel?
Not in the teachers and not in the kids. I mean, the kids definitely not. But I do sometimes get. I know that the previous librarian let me know that there were a couple parents who were like, I don't want my kids reading just graphic novels. And apparently, I think one of the last English teachers, who's not there anymore, thankfully, had a rule where it's like you could get one graphic novel and then one real book. So like,
Oh, no.
yeah, that's no, exactly. And it is like, I do try to push prose books in addition to comics, because like any comic I put on the shelf is going to be devoured. No, I mean, there's definitely no institutional pushback on that. Like the school and the teachers know that there are stories that are just as valuable and that have just as much resonance and can have just as much connection with the kids in comics as in prose books. And so there's a strong culture of that. So I really appreciate that and being able to kind of serve that population. It's cool stuff.
There's a long history here, especially at the college level, for teachers to have embraced the graphic novel as a form. Especially like it starts with Watchmen. Almost every English class is a requirement to read Watchmen. And that's very clearly a graphic novel.
Well, then it's also like specific genres have kind of gotten so dominated by graphic novels, like graphic medicine, like medicine and memoir are like so hugely like just graphic novels these days. And I think that's fascinating that like that genre is what's becoming like the dominant one in the adult in the non-superhero space. Like, it will, starting with stuff like Fun Home, but then also like Epileptic or God, pick another dozen creators. And it's like, that's the one genre that's almost overrepresented is graphic medicine. I was talking with
there was one about the brain.
Yeah. And I was talking with oh Lord, I'm blanking on his name completely. He's the head of the graphic novel comics roundtable. Matthew, I want to say N-O-E is his last name. Totally blanked on his name. But like he's writing a whole paper about like graphic medicine specifically and like graphic novel memoirs that are And I think it's really cool that that's a thing. And I'm not adding those to the collection because those are obviously a lot heavier than a lot of what my kids are up to. But like, even stuff like Smile, for example, can be considered a kind of graphic, a medicine memoir, just for much younger readers. And those, I have so many kids come and be like, do you ever read Telegemeyer? Telbelmeyer? So it starts with a T, like, because her stuff, that and like the Babysitter's Club. What's the other one that really goes fast? Amulet gets a lot of check out. Yeah, kind of the usual suspects of, Wings of Fire. Wings of Fire actually hasn't seen as much. I got to push those more. I got a whole lot of Wings of Fire and not as much as I thought I would. But anyway. But yeah, so going on the subject of medicine and memoir, that's kind of where my book falls.
I was going to say, it definitely deals in that.
Sorry for stepping in.
Background though, first for you, like, is this your first graphic novel work?
Oh no! So I got my start. In an interesting way. I got my start as one of the official writers on the licensed My Little Pony comics from IDW. Because I was I was an early reader of the. I liked the show a lot. I was a brony back before that was a really weird thing, a terrible thing to be. And And I also knew that I wanted to get into comics. And I'm good friends with another local creator, Xander Cannon, who just wrapped up his series Kaiju Max earlier this year. Yeah. And he has been in the business long enough that he knows everybody at everywhere. So he put me in touch with IDW. I sent some samples. They liked them enough, and I started going from there. So I wrote dozens of issues for My Little Pony when it was still coming out. It ended. Well, they're doing kind of miniseries and spin-offs, so it hasn't technically ended, but the mainline series ended a while ago. And then from there, I got, let's see, I got a couple series published at Aftershock. My book Orphan Age and then Moth and Whisper both got collected. Those are both 5-issue series, which I'd love to do more of. And then just last year, at the peak of the pandemic, my book The Spy Who Raised Me came out from Lerner Publishing, from their Graphic Universe imprint. So it's not my first graphic novel, and it's not even my first like OGN, book graphic novel as opposed to collection. But this is a really special one because this one hits a more personal side of things. So I have myself a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Art by Tara O'Connor, who unfortunately couldn't be here. I checked in with her. She's in Ireland, so her sleep schedule is completely opposite.
So I want you to look at this advanced copy. Can you tell
Oh, yeah.
how used it is? That's
Oh
how
my
many
God,
times
yeah,
it's
that's-
been read by my staff.
Oof, thumbed up. Yeah, ooh.
It's a favorite, I will say.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, this idea has been in my head for a while, and it wasn't until I was talking with my editor, Christina Harrington, a couple years ago at Chicago Comic-Con. It might have been the last Chicago Con before COVID shut everything down. And I was talking with her about it, and she said this sounded like a great idea. And so I just started working on the pitch and getting that together. And then it came out that Aftershock was starting the Seismic Press imprint, which is where they're putting a lot of, I think some, maybe not young readers, but they're doing middle grade and young adult stuff. Like they already have a couple of their books have been sent through there. And then Steve Orlando's Rainbow Bridge, I think, just came out through there. And then this is only like the third or fourth book that's come out through the Seismic Press imprint. And I'm looking forward to the stuff that comes out next. It is a YA book. I will say, I think more YA than middle grade, not out of any, there's no swearing, there's no sex, there's no like ridiculous violence. There's nothing sort of untoward, but it's set in it's got a setting and it's got a level of emotional maturity, I think, that's required that you don't really get until you're in high school and sort of able to appreciate what the protagonist is going through. So, quick version of the story is it's about a girl named Hannah who's in her first year at college and starts experiencing anxiety and depression, having anxiety attacks. She goes to her campus mental health provider for services. She starts on therapy, and she also starts on medications. And those medications have a number of side effects, including, in some cases, giving her superpowers. So on top of having to deal with like her relationships and her, classes and her roommate and everything else, she's also now having to deal with occasionally shooting lightning bolts out of her fingers or reading people's minds. And just sort of the ridiculousness of that. And it's reasonably, I like to think of it as slice of life, magical realist, fun-ish. I don't go super dark into the mental health aspects of it because I wanted it to be more of a story about the possibility of recovery and the fact that progress can be made, and that even, when we're feeling really dark, there are ways that we can help ourselves and ways that we can get out of it. So it's not a dark book. I didn't really want it to be. I wanted it to be a pretty fun book with some moments of emotional darkness, I guess. And it's a little bit autobiographical in that, I was also in college when I went to campus mental health and started getting services and meds, and I didn't get the superpowers, unfortunately. But it was the side effects from my own meds are actually kind of what inspired the book, because the antidepressants I'm on, they have a specific known side effect where if you accidentally miss a day, you get a really specific type of cluster headache that's very distinct. And the medical term for those is brain zaps. And I got so annoyed with them one day, and I looked that up, and it's like they couldn't come up with a better name than brain zaps. And so I was just thinking, I'm like, man, it'd be so much better if I got actual like electro zaps in addition to the brain zaps. And hey, there's a story in there somewhere. So it's autobiographical in that sense, sort of, not really. And it's also, as I was writing it, I realized that I wanted to push back on the narrative that I see a lot in a lot of media of like, the meds that you take somehow like kill your emotions or repress your personality or do something terrible to you. And I hate that so much. I hate that storyline. I hate that idea that medication is somehow like detrimental to you and like it takes something away from you. I wanted to make sure that this is a story about no, medication has its side effects. It's in the title, but it's ultimately a thing that can be freeing, that can be liberating, that can help you, that can make you feel better about the world and yourself and make you go places. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I've been talking a whole lot here. I go off on this thing when you get me started.
I mean, I would never stop you from talking about it because I'll tell you, I read this book on the airplane when I was flying this to or from some industry something. We'll just say convention. And when I got done with the book, I literally typed into my crew that like this book should be required reading for everybody. Like everyone should have a copy of this. This is an Eisner winning book.
Oh, thank you. I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, I really hope so. I mean, I want it to be. I mean, one thing that this is sort of me hyping up my own self, but what am I here for if not that? But one conversation I had when I was at the ALA conference was with someone who was a mental health guidance counselor, or no, I'm sorry. More specifically, he was a guy who his job was to like basically drum up recruitment specifically among underserved populations, marginalized populations. Mm-hmm. I think it was at the University of Wisconsin. I'm not sure. And his whole job was basically trying to make sure that kids who hadn't previously been able to get into college or who typically in previous years had their communities hadn't been able to support that were getting that kind of support. And like, I would want this to be a book for them to read because I feel like what I want to show is this possibility of, yes, you're going to have problems. You are going to run into things that are going to make things difficult. There are going to be issues that might try and prevent you, whether institutional or otherwise, from getting your education. They are not insurmountable. There are ways to get past it. There are always things that you can do to get better. I didn't write it with that in mind. I'm not trying to. I didn't write a book specifically about like, hey kids, mental health is great. Pop those pills like candy. But I did want to write a book that was about it was more of a personal thing where it's this one person overcoming their issues. But I wanted to make sure that it's a positive story and she does overcome, at least to an extent. The door is always open. I did leave it open for sequels or any other sort of continuations or that kind of thing, because there are always further places for it to go. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be so vain as to say that I think that every college freshman should read this, but I do feel like there are students for sure who would benefit from having this level of understanding. Yeah, this is a problem you might come up. This is a problem you might come up against. This is something that you might face at college or even elsewhere. There are things you can do. There is hope out there. You're not alone. So,
I think also this book is important because it balances those things, the mental health struggles, with like the awkwardness of going to school, all the things that the chaos can happen, the awkwardness of meeting someone that you have a crush on, like how you like make the first move, or do you make the first move, or what's the like it's just all of these things. How does it work for a human being, which is all of us? We've all done all these things. Like how does it work? All those things, trying to shuffle them around and like still trying to make good grades, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, I'm still super awkward in all my social interactions, but it is, I mean, and college in one way is special for that moment, because for a lot of people, myself included, it is the first time you're away from your support network. It's the first time you're away from home. You're really away from all your friends, your family, and you can call them on the phone, but it's not the same thing. You don't have that 24/7 connection. When I was working on the pitch with Christina, I kind of brought up a couple times, is there a way I could make this more of a YA focus, like make it actually a teenager? And I just couldn't quite make it work without opening up sort of odd side question. I mean, for one thing, there's a question of medical legal responsibility. Generally, you have to be 18 for, a lot of formal diagnoses of certain things. But there's also like, there would be questions more asked about like her relationship with her family that I didn't think were as interesting as seeing how somebody in an entirely new environment goes about all this. And I did try to play this relatively sort of realistic in the sense of like, Okay, so I did have this book read by a family therapist and a couple other sensitivity readers in regards to certain mental health issues. And there are parts that like they told me, so this is unrealistic, but it's a book, you can get away with it. So like there are parts where like, so Hannah takes like, she switches to a different medication like every month. That's not smart. You really can't do that. You should be tapering off your meds. You should always obey, what your provider says. But for the sake of the book, I had to make that work. For the sake of the book, I had to, sacrifice a couple other elements of like realism and how you work with a medical establishment. But I ultimately wanted it to be a story that shows that medication has its positives, has its uses. I mean, mild spoiler in that this sort of spoils what doesn't happen, but there's no shocking third act reveal where it turns out that like all her meds are a science experiment, or like it turns out that her therapist is secretly manipulating her. There's no big twist where it turns out that the medical establishment is doing science on her. I really specifically wanted to avoid that as well, because I didn't want to include any elements of paranoia, of making it about something bigger than just like dealing with your own issues. I didn't want to make it a big conspiracy thriller nonsense. I didn't want to even make it like, oh, they were tipping nuclear waste into the pill bottling factory, whatever. I just wanted it to be a story about, if you're in this situation and you're doing things you didn't think were possible up until now, how do you deal with that? How do you juggle this stuff?
I think that's what keeps it out of like being too heavy and more sweet, right? For me, reading it, yes, I think the mental health part of it was important, but my big takeaway about it was like the healthy kind of like working out. Okay, so there is something odd about me that I can read your mind or can I still have a real-ish life? Sure, everyone's gonna have to work.
Yeah,
together for that.
We've all got issues. Some of us shoot lightning bolts at our fingers. Yeah, I wanted it to be. Yeah, I wanted it to be the idea that no matter what weird things happen to you, like, hey, there is a life for you. There is a way to make your life happen, and it's possible. Sorry, I'm still, like I say, I'm still fighting off the cold.
All right, so a little get to know you question. If you were to have superpowers, which one would you choose? Or two, you can choose a couple.
Oh boy! Oh, they didn't even give me. They give me the free reign. Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
This is always this. I've had this question before, and it's a rough one. It's leaving it so open ended. Teleportation is really good because I like saving on gas money, and I like being able to kind of go wherever I want and take what I need or buy what I need. I'm not going to commit crimes with this stuff, but like, or am I? But the comfort and the ease of that, and being able to get where I need to be, because I'm the guy who's chronically 5 minutes late. So having that cushion would be great. Being able to know like, oh, I'm going to get there in 30 seconds. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Pop right over there.
So ideally, would yours be also time and space?
Time and space somehow, yeah. Maybe also freezing time, because then I get to take a nap whenever I want. Like, oh man, that would be a real nice. My side effects are generally pretty boring ones. The one that I get is sleepiness, is like disturbances to my sleep pattern is a little bit funky. So that's the one I deal with, which is not nearly as interesting as anything in the book.
I think most everyone reports sleepiness.
Yeah, it's a common one. It's an unfortunate side effect of virtually every medication we take. But it's, I was actually on the phone grappling with like having to get an emergency refill because my providers, and then my doctor didn't call it in because she was off for the weekend, and the only thing I could think is like the only thing worse than taking pills is not taking the pills.
True.
Speaking of taking pills, I am going to get an antibiotic for this. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. So when you're done with your world signing tour for this book, what's coming up next?
So I do have. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I don't have anything I can talk about. I don't think I have a book that's going to be announced hopefully really soon, and then I have some other projects in the works, but nothing I can really talk about at the moment, unfortunately. In the meantime, though, I actually do want to. I realize I should have been doing this more. I do want to plug the artist Tara O'Connor even more, because this was an artist that I had read her stuff even before I started on the book. And when Christina mentioned, "Oh yeah, we're looking at getting Tara O'Connor for the book," I'm like, "Yes, thank you so much." I am in love with her stuff. She has a beautiful style, beautiful flowing artwork to it. The colors add so much more. I love everything she does, and I am super happy I got to work with her on this book. And also our letterer, Dave Sharp, did a fantastic job. There are some really excellent little lettering moments along the way that make it work really well. The team at Aftershock, obviously, all those people. It has been a really great book to work on. I mean, I've already done a couple things with Aftershock, and obviously I love them a lot. But like this in particular, getting to work a little bit more into the OGN space, and also the kind of thing that could be on library shelves, although not my library, but that's it's just a little more advanced. That's, I think, something that they're doing really well, and I'm really excited to see them continuing to push that.
Absolutely. I'm good friends with the Aftershocks. They're my people.
Oh yeah.
Where are you going to be, when you're done with all your Contagion, are you going to be traveling to conventions that people can see you in?
I don't have any plans, unfortunately, because it's not actually the sickness. It is just a question of the new job, and I really don't have nearly as much time as I thought I would. If you're in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, there's some local conventions I'll definitely be at. But like, I was thinking of going to New York Comic Con, but it just was not in the cards. It didn't work out really well. It's not in the cards at the moment. I don't know. I may do some things come the spring. We'll see. I mean, I may have some more stuff to announce that might benefit from me going out in the spring, but at the moment, no, man, I'm kind of a homebody. Like, this is where I'm hanging out. If you are in Minneapolis, 26,
make more cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I need to be just releasing more cool stuff. If you are in the Minneapolis area, I'll be doing a signing on December in a bookstore locally. But apart from that, yeah, it's if you want to get a signed copy, find a way to mail me the money directly now.
That's right.
We'll figure it out.
That's the way you do it. And where, if people wanted to follow you that were interested in your professional work, what is the right place?
The best place for me is still Twitter, the Hell site, but it's the best Hell site we have. And that's at Tedley Anderson, TEDLY ANDERSON.
No wonder I couldn't find it. I tried so hard today.
So that's the thing. Like, there's obviously a bunch of Ted Andersons out there. There's even like the guy who owns the local like Clear Channel distribution thing that was like big friends with the Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. He's also named Ted Anderson, and he's from Minneapolis. So like, obviously some weird confusion there. No, Tedley is an old college nickname. So like, yeah, Tedley Anderson is what I am on most platforms, and especially on Twitter. That's where I'll have all my announcements. That's where I've got the pre-order code isn't useful anymore, but like, that's where I've got info about side effects. I'll be putting anything else up there.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody, make sure this is, so as you know what you're looking for, your LCS. This is an OGN, so it's going to be in the graphic novel stuff if they put it up.
120 pages. There's also some back matter, again, from one of the therapists that I spoke to. He wrote up some excellent back matter for me as well. Yeah.
And I will tell you guys, this is something I will extend out there. If you go to your LCS and you buy this book and it's not your jam, I will buy it from you personally, like up to 1 million copies. Like, this is, I believe in this book a lot. So don't pass up going to see this book.
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. We're done. It's time for you to go and do something else for just a tiny bit and then come back to the experience, enjoy the rest of our shows. Thank you so much, Ted. I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you, Jen. My pleasure. So thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.